thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
And like everything else, I have to name everything. So I've kind of coined this thing a minor in reality, which is really about telling people the truth about how this works, right? I wanted to create a class that I wished I had had, that I wish somebody had exposed me to things in more of a real way as opposed to book learning, as they say. And I think the record you played is a great kind of starting point because we all come from somewhere. And I think your origin story informs kind of who you are and how you are in the world. And when you're young, you have all this in your head and you don't know how to manifest it. So can we go back to your origin story a little bit, where you're from, mom and dad, a little bit of kind of where, you know, where this all took root and how it's turned into this thing that you've manifested over your career so far? That's kind of the path I want to take us down. So can we start back at the beginning?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah. Is it okay if I talk to them?
Yeah, talk to them. Yeah, talk around it. Yeah. It's punk rock, right? We're just making it. We're making it work.
Well, I grew.
I'll do this.
I grew up on a dirt road in Northeast Ohio. My parents are still in the house I grew up in. Really small house. My mom is one of 9. A few of her brothers were hot rod people. So I grew up building cars and hot rods and things like that. It's kind of like my hobby. I still love cars. My dad was a football coach, wrestling coach, power lifter into his 60s, tried out for the Cleveland Browns, broke his back, big guy. I'm definitely his little girl. I mean, you know, not what he had hoped for in his firstborn son, I think. But all that being said, at the end of the day, they kind of believed in me, and I can't really put enough of a price on that. As you know, I went to college, kind of dropped out of college, was working in a wine warehouse. I was playing in bands in Ohio. I decided that I had to go to somewhere where the music industry was for real. So it was like, I was either going to go to New York, Los Angeles, or Nashville. And Nashville honestly just felt like the least intimidating place to go. Felt like I could get home, didn't seem so mean or something. So I went to Nashville to try to be a guitar player. And
now, what year was this?
Probably 95.
And I'm going to back up a little bit. So you're in you're playing in bands in Ohio. So you're either sneaking into bars underage, doing gigs, or you're playing the VFW. You're finding a way.
All of that.
We have almost the identical story coming here. Yeah. I came here to
play.
I mean, that's weird.
That's right. I remember that.
Close it is. So what kind of music were you playing at that time, and who were you listening? Hard rock. So like hard rock, like give me the band. Give me a couple of bands. AC/DC. Yeah.
Definitely. Ozzy Osbourne. Just a lot of that kind of 80s, 90s hard rock, fun guitar stuff.
Yeah. And you still play, right?
I mean, that stage is really for us. We don't really have anybody else play there. But I also think it's kind of really nice because everybody kind of stinks, and you can play things that you don't normally do and learn an Eric Church song or Ashley McBride song, and it's just kind of a fun thing to do as a bonding thing, really. But yeah, it's still a fun creative outlet. You know?
Yeah. So you're basically tearing it up in your hometown. You're a big fish in the small pond, and you decide to move to a bigger pond. Right. This one seems less intimidating than the coasts.
Yes.
And you arrive here, and you have how much money and no?
Well, I took out a student loan so I could fake going to Belmont. I don't know where you guys go to school together, but anyway.
They go to UNH. They're from the East Coast.
Okay. So I took out a student loan to live on, basically, and enrolled in school. And I dropped out in like a year and a half. But that allowed me to live. So I did that. And I promise you, it took me 3 weeks maybe to figure out that I'm not a guitar player. Like, it
Dude,
really
it's-
didn't take long to go,
yeah.
everybody is better than me. Everybody, and so and my parents, again, my mom cut hair and my dad was a school teacher. So it's like there was no music. I didn't even know what a manager was when I came to. I had no idea what the disciplines were, what anything was, which is why I told you I have a little bit of a heart for the people who are figuring it out, because I had so clueless of like just going for the route now. Oh, I guess you got to be in the band. Like, what else could there be?
Yeah.
So I really quickly realized, man, not my thing, but I continued to try to write. I was, playing around in bands a little bit here, but was really not good enough and kind of knew that. So Belmont did kind of go, okay, there's this music business 101 class. I mean, then it's like, oh, there's all these other things, and so I just started kind of exploring and working odd jobs. I swept studios. I counted t-shirts. I sold t-shirts on the road. I did everything you could imagine. I built fences out way out in the country for people, just whatever I could do to make money. But I did count t-shirts for this management company that they were sending out these promo packages to radio stations is what they were doing. They would do it repeatedly and they needed some help. And I told them that I could keep counting these, or I could build you a little system that kind of keeps track of it. And this was a time where, and I know you remember, but it was weird. Like, the record labels were networked and, had the computer thing, but a lot of it were not. Networking wasn't even a thing yet. They're like kind of standalone computers. They weren't really, most people working there had no clue about it. So they had nothing. And I'm like, I will build you a database.
And this is what year?
It's got to be 96 or something,
Mhm.
96, 97. So I built that, and then I noticed that this guy had two different color recipe boxes, like those plastic recipe boxes with index cards in them for keeping track of their artist contracts, whether in the building or out. And it would just move them down. Like, I can build you something for that little radio button. You don't ever have to have these things again. So I was doing odd jobs, but this guy finally just said, I will pay you, sit in the basement and make solutions for us that make us more efficient in the process. And that got me into management as I was watching these guys. Everything that I thought was repeatable and quantifiable, I would try to program to it. And I ended up building kind of a system for that got adapted then by Vector Management, and they had 20 acts and Dolly Parton, so they used my thing. But it caused me to like think logically and methodically through the stuff that was repeated, that you needed to, if you're going to draw any conclusions, you better do things the same way, all that logical stuff. And keep track of numbers and merchandise and stuff like that. But the part that I thought I was better at, which was, I wouldn't say this really today, but in the young mind, I'm like, but I know music better than all of you. Like, you guys can't tell what it's like. I mean, who's cool or whatever. So there was this really quantifiable part, and then there was this intuitive part that I recognized that if you really want to be successful in management, it felt like you had to have both of those halves. And so I did the job there, and then I
can I interrupt and ask?
Yeah, sure.
Who were you working for at the time?
It was a company called Mike Robertson Management, and then Ken Levitan had started Vector after. So Vector had this guy who started Vector had a small management company with, I think, just Lyle Lovett, and then he got asked to run a record label that went out of business in like 3 years, because it was just that time. It really wasn't his fault, I don't think. But he ended up starting the label, wasn't really successful, went back to management, and he signed Leonard Skinner and 38 Special, and he started to grow his thing. And he asked the guy that I was working for to run the country division. So they were friends. They got together, and that's when I programmed for the whole company, kind of the system. This guy adapted the little guy's system. And in that transition, I had found a band, this little bluegrass band. They were all like 16 years old, called Nickel Creek. And I was like, well, I want to do that. And they're like, okay, if you want to do the bluegrass, they were having hits, big
Yeah.
country hits and stuff. And so they said, yeah, let the kid do the little band. And then, so I started managing this band, Nickel Creek, and Oh Brother, We're Out There came out, the movie. And all of a sudden there was like this little spotlight on old time music, and Time magazine flies in to see what they think is old time music, which is Dolly Parton, at this festival called Merle Fest down in North Carolina. And the mandolin player in the band Nickel Creek was playing with Dolly Parton. He's won the MacArthur Genius Award since then. It's like incredible. Chris Thiele is his name. So he's playing, and he's like 16, 17 years old. It's just like playing with at the highest level. And like, who is the young kid as part of this old time thing? It's like, really stood out. And they found out, well, this kid's in a band and they're playing later that night. So anyway, Time magazine writes this article kind of about the future and uses my band as the example. And it was just like game was on all of a sudden. And I had this really hot shit, like, young band.
And they were hot shit.
Yes,
I mean, they were
really hot.
jaw droppers at that point.
Yeah, and you had the cultural tail, which is stuff you can't engineer. It's just like this cultural tailwind that's going on. And you kind of had the right spot. And I was in the right spot, and they sold 1 million records, no radio, nothing. And I had all this baseline of like the fundamentals of, management, no radio, and kind of learned a lot in there. So I got really lucky at the beginning. And so as things happen when you're working for people and you got a band and it did stuff, then everybody got grabby. And I was like, I'm leaving. So I quit and walked out without the band and just said, I can do it again, which is, again, very naive and cocky. And I wouldn't say that again, because again, there's a lot of luck in being in the right spot at the right time. But I walked out and quit, and then the band approached their lawyer and said, we don't know anybody but Peets, and we want to find whatever he's doing, we're going to go. So they came over with me, and I was kind of started there. And then I got a call from New York City through a business manager that I had done all this kind of work for, who knew me, because this management company, Q Prime, who was doing Metallica and Chili Peppers and all this hard rock, big hard rock stuff, called and said, we are interested in you because we are 2 Jewish guys from New York. We don't know anything about Nashville, but we hear you're good. And I was like, oh God, I was like, just came out of the situation. I just quit because I had 2 guys that were all kind of trying to do it. And I'm like, I don't want to do it, but I will fly up there, because they were doing Metallica and Def Leppard and Chili Peppers. And I was like, I got to go see what this is about, So I went up there, and the one partner just sat me in the room and said, listen, we want nothing to do with it. We are going to give you this really small salary, and if you're successful, you'll peel us off a little bit of piece of what you make, and we'll cover your overhead so you don't lose your house. And we'll give you 2 years to do that, to stabilize you.
Was that Cliff?
That was actually Peter.
Okay.
Yes. And I said, man, that sounds like kind of too good to be true. I don't really trust that necessarily, but I did it. And I said, you know what? In 2 years, I'll find out. And that was like 25 years ago. So, but now I have my own piece, but I keep the Q Prime Association and stuff, because I like the way that they do all of their music, but I have, kind of autonomy here and to be fair for them, it's been a partnership the whole time, that they've let me do whatever I want to do.
So I want to back up, because I want to unpack something you talked about. You talked about this idea that you were doing this thing, right? And you were working with a business manager, and we talk a lot about reputation and Rolodex, right? And the idea of, if you're gonna, to me, the thing that differentiates someone that I want to work with is they will do whatever it takes. And it sounds like you were very much in this mode of, I'm gonna crush this. I'm gonna figure it out. I am gonna find a way. I'm gonna optimize. I'm gonna add value. So can you talk more about how that approach, which developed early, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has been, I mean, it's evident in everything in here, right? There's a lot of attention to detail. There's a lot of, unpack that a little bit and how that thinking works for you.
Well, this might sound a little weird, but it goes back a little bit to the parental thing, I think, in the sense that my parents didn't understand. I still don't think my parents know what I do, actually, but they believed in me. And honestly, a lot of that came from, I'm literally working with a net. What is going to happen to me? It's like, so if you go, I can go home,
Mhm.
you know? So to me, I've always been of the attitude of like, man, if you got that, you are obligated to do something great. Like that's your task then. Because it's a joke. You live in America, you're the richest country in the world. You got parents that will take you back in. You're not going to be on the street under the bridge. So you better fucking do something like that. And I think that might have come from my dad, you know, but I kind of believe it in the sense of like, this is not insane, you know. We're very privileged from the get-go, from the drop here. And so it's like, take that seriously and do something with it, you know, and just don't be afraid, because what is really going to happen to you? Nothing, probably, you know. I mean, that's how
you
I
jumped
felt
off the
anyway.
cliff. You just,
Yeah,
you
and
just
it's,
ran and jumped.
yeah, and you just, I don't know. I feel that that's part of the deal. If you're given the shot, you know, you guys are in secondary education spot, you're already like way ahead of like lots of people, and so, you know,
And you're at a moment where you have little to lose and much to gain.
yes, yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, yeah, I mean, I had long hair. I was living with 5 guys way longer than all my friends, you know, all those things. But that's such a small price to pay. You know, I was watching my brother and other, you know, get married and have jobs and moving up the ladder, and I was still screwing around with roommates and stuff. But I was loving what I was doing. I felt committed to the idea and really kind of took the attitude that there is nothing really to lose here.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start playing like that, you win a lot. You know, because you're just gonna outwork people. You're gonna outmaneuver people who are afraid. And that was mostly the reason, I think.
Yeah. And so I want to kind of, you end up in one of Q Prime at the time was riding very high, still
Yeah,
rides very
Monster,
high,
yeah.
Monster, right? Like you end up in that office from, you know, when you think about your path from Ohio to here
pretty
to
cool.
like,
Yeah.
pretty fucking cool. So when did there ever come a point where it started to feel weightier, where now you're playing, you got a hell of a hand you're playing, and yet you seem to continue to approach it not recklessly, but very much with an attitude of I'm all in, right? Is that,
I think that's fair. I mean, I don't feel like that the weight you speak of, I think, was more aspirational. Do you know? I mean, I remember going to their office and MTV would come over and shoot the promo for the MTV Awards because they had so many Moon Men on the shelf, like, and just winning everything, you know. And I just had so much respect for them because I thought about what it would be like to have Def Leppard, which, you know, I don't know if there could have been a bigger band in the 80s, and sign Metallica while you have that band who has no hits, nothing. But it's just great and uniquely themselves, which is immediately what I recognized and resonated with. Like, that is all I want to do, is work with bands. Because it occurred to me sometime early that I said, every one of you, everybody would have the list of what they think the greatest of all time is, you know, and you're going to put up whatever, Johnny Cash or Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin, whatever you want to say. And you put them all up there, and then you go, what do they have in common? And what they have in common is there's nothing else like them. Like, they're completely unique. And I said, that's the goal, you know. And to me, I was like, that's the goal. I want to work with the greatest of all time. I want to try to work with those type of things. I don't care if it sounds like something that's happening today and might even make money, I hate it immediately. I'm just adverse to that feeling of this is already done. So who cares, unless you're just going for money, which people do, but I never kind of played in that space. And so it almost always takes 10 years to get something broke, but that's okay with me if it ends up being something that contributed great to art, whatever level, but it was true, its thing.
So
I might have lost the question.
No, I mean, you answered it. So that's the other, the common factor is the uniqueness. In other words, you said it upstairs, like I moved over here to get the hell away from what is normal, to find my spot. And then you looked for those same characteristics, starting with Nickel.
Yeah.
So kind of go as you kind of unpack your career, who came next, and what was that thing that was that unique thing?
Well, next was Gillian Welch. So I don't even know if I need to explain that. Well, I don't know if you know who that is, but
if you don't, you need to know.
Queen of sadcore. I mean, sadcore, dark bluegrass, man. Great, incredible artist. I mean, as revered as you could probably get.
And fiercely independent.
Yes, one of the first artist-owned record labels, I think behind Ani DeFranco maybe, did it first. But so fiercely independent that because I did a little programming, as you know, built our own iTunes, exactly the same. It looked exactly the same colors, everything. We were selling our own music on there so early.
I remember.
Crazy independent. So very odd, very different. And that was number 2. And then I think Eric was number 3 and the Black Keys were number 4, maybe. So always kind of different individuals. I mean, the Eric Church, when we just made that first record, it was so male, it was so testosterone driven topically, so much so that there were songs that I took off that were great songs and were hits later, but they were not topically right for this particular collection. And even there's a song on there called Living Part of Life. It's the last song on the record that had a line that said wife, and changed it because there could be no wives on this record. And then we enter a system that is marketed to 25 to 35-year-old moms. And I didn't really realize it. I was just like, I like this guy. It's kind of rock. And when we need edge and country and all that kind of stuff. And then we delivered the record and they're like, what is this? Like this, you guys are talking about smoking pot, and then no one's going to play this in the van with the kids in the back. And that's all we're trying to get to, is that audience. And so we had a hard time for a long time for that reason, and other reasons. But so it doesn't, never. But
you were playing the short game. You were always playing.
Yeah,
it's always been the long game.
It's a great artist that I was like, no one sounds like that. No one's going to put the guitars that loud in the mix. No one's going to do the drums like that. It just was that thing. It was like uniquely its own thing. And I'm like, I can fight with that, because if it is that, you can build a base that likes that. But when they want that food, they can get it only from there. And that's really important to kind of put on that. If you are battling, most of this town is battling for the song. It's all about the song. It's all about the song. I hate that, because it makes no sense to me, in the sense that, yes, you can get somebody to like your song and put it in a playlist and they take it home. They're not really buying the culture of you. What do you represent? Because ultimately you have to spit out, where if you're Eric Church, or they're not coming for a song or an album or anything. At some point it becomes about him. They're just going, I harmonize with your value set and who you are and what you represent in my life. And you can see that in t-shirts. I mean, that's the main barometer to me always. It's like, if you're going to put on the shirt, it's trying to say something about you. You're saying, this is important to me. This is cool. Whatever they represent, that's me. So if you see someone rolling up in a Metallica shirt, you kind of got a frame. You can't judge them, but you have an idea of, they're saying, this is my world. And if you understand that world, you're like, yeah, man, I got you. But if your band doesn't have an identity, then you can never broadcast that and have it make any sense at all. And so I think it's important.
So there's and you're reinforcing something that I want to drive home to these guys. So one of their kind of the underpinning projects that I've asked them to do and that we'll check in on, and that inevitably is their final project, is this idea of these three questions: what do I love, what do I value, and what am I great at? And how you manifest that in this class can be in a variety of ways, right? But what you're talking about there is that exact thing, which is you take a position and people come to it, right? If they want that food, they're going to come to you, and knowing it and claiming it and owning it is the key, right, to building something. Whether that's a management company that attracts that kind, you have staked out turf, and people know who you are and what this stands for, right? Same as people know who Eric is and what he stands for. Was that just in you? Did you just recognize that? Is that what resonated with you? And so you've manifested that? Or did you study someone? How did you come across it?
Definitely did not study anything, for sure. I mean, it's easier to look back and kind of go, yes, that, and you're right, that's exactly it. And that's, even counseling artists, it's like, that's what it is about. The hardest question is, do you know who you are and what you're trying to do overall, and in any given project that comes out in albums and you're building a thing, man? Really hard, especially in this town, because so many people, by the time they get here, are so talented at doing whatever it takes. And some of the first things that you have to do sometimes is unwind that. And John Osborne is a great example of, he had to survive and play guitar like every hit riffer that there was, because he was playing on demos. So sound like JT Cornfloss, sound like Brent Mason, we want this on the demo, and he would be able to do that. But by the time he got his artist deal and we started making records, it's like, John, who are you though? I mean, I want you to sound like every rock magazine that I grew up with had the lead singer and the lead guitar player on the cover of the magazine every time. It's every rock band. It's like, these are two things. Like, but they all, you could identify him. Brian May of Queen or whatever, he starts playing, it's it. It's him immediately. First note. There's so many of those guys. I go, you've got to, should we do? Should we string your guitar upside down? I mean, you got to do something, and that's a long journey to kind of get back to who are you though. You could do anything. And that's the same with singers. You find a lot of like, I could sing anything, what should I sing? I'm like, I'm not the manager for you. I don't do that. I magnify your vision. I try to coax parts of you that you don't see out, but I don't invent it. Don't try to tell you what to do and how to do it. Seems really weird to me. And I think losing game.
Well, that creates a lack of authenticity, that you're actually, what you're doing is you've found that root, and I'll use your word, you're coaxing it out. You can see, when you're this, it's hard sometimes to see it, and you're doing this, but you're also recognizing, right?
Yeah, you're kind of one concentric ring out from the artists themselves. And you have a different vantage point, a little different vision, but you still care, you still love them, you still want them to succeed, you're still kind of have these shared goals. And it's a real valuable position if you can get it. And if they'll let you into the creative part of that, which is why this place is a little bit weird and different. It's not just the business part, but it's also that other part. That can be a really, really good combination.
Well, and I think that's another unique part of what I have always observed about you is you are allowed into an area that, in my mind, a lot of artists don't allow people into, which is into the creative process. And you're very creative in a way that I would wonder if it would be threatening, because you have an amount of creativity that I think is in parallel with a lot of the artists you work with. Maybe not directly, right? But that unpack that a little bit and how
Yeah,
that
no,
works.
I think, I mean, I hate saying that because it feels weird to say it, but I know it's true in the sense that it takes a very confident artist to be here. And the more confident they are, the better it.
I was going to say, because
is.
steel sharpens steel.
Yeah, because I'm coming really hard at
Yeah.
that stuff, and it can be very. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I have an opinion. It doesn't mean that you're right, but that's how you end up. I don't know. I'm not presupposing you guys know anything, but Eric just did a record called Evangeline versus the Machine. So.
And that's a movie soundtrack, is it not?
Yeah, and a movie. Yes, there's a movie sound. There's a live version. There's a recorded version, but that. How that happens. We do all the songs together and figure out what the kind of North Star is, and this kind of expanded musicianship thing came into it. But from there, I have it all. I mean, the concept of Evangeline, the title is something that comes out of me. I typically sequence all the records. It's the artwork, and then the concept of this woman Evangeline being creativity, and the machine being all the stuff that's pulling at you in social media and all the things that show up in the movie. And the concert has guys in hazmat suits and gas masks filming the thing that all is representing the machine. I mean, it's crazy shit that you got to have a lot of confidence to let someone do that, but it's cool. I mean, it's cool. I think, some people were like, wow,
it seems to be working pretty well for you.
Yeah. But it's also like kind of the weirdest thing you would ever expect to see at a country show is this orchestrated, 20 hazmat guys walking into the thing to 27 minutes of Pink Floyd before the show starts.
Oh man.
I mean, it takes a lot of trust for that to happen.
But you guys have been working together for how many years now?
Since 2004. So whatever that is.
What's the origin story? How did he walk in, and like, what was that connecting point?
I heard songwriting. I heard his songs, and they just were really great. Really great. He and Ashley are just insane writers. So I heard some demos or some songwriting demos.
Did they come across your did like a lawyer throw them to you? Like how did they?
I think it might have been Jay Williams. It might have been from the agent. I think. I'm not sure. We were sharing a lot of stuff at that point. I think it might have been him though, or Jay Joyce. I'm not sure.
Oh man,
one of those guys. Yeah. But one of the Jays.
One of the Jays.
Anyway, it was just songs, and I was like, oh, I love what this guy is writing, and then he came in, and he really did want to be a songwriter. I mean, he was really, that was mostly his.
Okay.
He came to town to do that. Would be very happy doing that. And he kind of evolved into this kind of rock sound and ended up just going, yeah, I can do this.
And so you recognize this thing, this you found this seed, and then your job is to sort of protect it and then to help expand it. So as you go through that process, what are the things that you're using as mechanisms to sort of encourage without overriding, for lack of a better way to put it?
Well, I think, one, I would say what you're hunting for or looking for in my mind is the points of differentiation against the peer group, not similarities,
right?
Which is always kind of
it's the opposite of what everybody's doing, right? Everybody's looking for the next, I need another version of this.
Right, because it's working.
Right.
And you kind of go, well, I don't want to be exactly the same, but I kind of want to, this is actually working. You're way off because you're going to lose probably.
Yep.
Not always, but I think if you're playing a game for Hall of Fame, greatest of all time, you're going to lose. If you're playing a game of like, oh, sound is working, I want to draft off it and be one of the people that sound like Morgan Wallen, and there's probably some money to make in there. That's okay. I just don't do that, but you can do that. There's plenty of seconds and thirds that are all right too, but I just don't. It doesn't resonate with me really. but so you're looking for the points of differentiation. And Eric kind of enters the thing, and you have Luke Bryan, and you have Keith Urban, and you have Jason Aldean, and so it was like, calling out Dirk Bentley, that this big move of these young male guys is happening. It's like, why are we going to be different at every single turn, every turn?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what came into that, like, really focused album that has a thing, because that was the first thing that was different, is people really they were making records, because you have to make records because that's how it got put out. But the country business there's a perpetual cycle of singles,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't really tell, is that the new single off the new album or the last one off the old? It's constant, and you're touring the summers. And the first thing we did was like, we're gonna do an album campaign like a rock band, and we're not gonna tour in the summer. That was the first, we're gonna do indoors, and we're gonna do winter and fall. So, right from the get-go, that was kind of the layout.
Did you ever
opposite?
Did you ever read Seth Godin's Purple Cow?
No.
You wrote it. I mean, you just did it using basically the premise is that you're driving down a road, and you're looking to your left and your right, and you see these cows, and it's like, oh, look at these cows, and pretty soon they fade into the background because they're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then you drive by a field and there's a purple cow.
You will see that.
Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Like, so they zig, you zag, and that mentality. So kind of fast forwarding to what we just heard, right, which is very different than what's happening with female country artists today.
Yes,
like the zag.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, I don't want to say you're running the same play all the time, but in a way you're running the same play, and everybody else is doing the opposite. And at some point,
the only thing I would say is that probably is reasonably true, except that you're not doing it with the artist for the sake of being different.
Right. No,
what I mean? You're not going with the art and the music and going, oh, no, this is happening. This is the sound of country radio. So Ashley, let's go to this thing.
Right.
It's not doing that. It's going, let's talk about where you are in your life. Let's talk about the best art that reflects where you are in your life and where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you lay the plan on top of it, you are trying to push what are the best practices? Let's look at that. This might apply to Ashley. This you should throw out. What are her peers doing? Let's not do that. So there's pieces that come forward that are really doing a lot of that. But what you hope you end up with is just that overall narrative of, oh, they do it their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Or Eric Church does whatever he wants. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. That's what people that's how it appears. That's how it appears in the world.
Right. But what's happening? It's
actually very thoughtful.
I was going to say what's happening is very thoughtful. And when is that a map that you is it as you go? It's very much based on the circumstances and based on the people, and that map changes.
Yes.
Are there
it is a map.
Are there common components of the map?
That's a good question. I feel like I've never really thought about it. I'm sure that there are some commonalities, but it is how I work as I draw. So it's like, I make these mind maps. Basically, there's good softwares for it, but you kind of build the world and you play out these scenarios on the board and then execute those. And then you can be pretty nimble within that. So the commonality, I guess, is always grounding it to the North Star. And if you can't articulate the North Star, you shouldn't put the record out.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
And then, so there's a common to the procedure, maybe. But within it, there is a high degree of uniqueness, I would say, to the artist.
Can you talk more about the notion of North Star? I mean, I think we all know what it is, but you reference it a lot, and it's define it for everybody.
Yeah, well, it's I feel like it has to be, it's a lens in which you look through every possibility, opportunity through, and it has to be simple enough that when you engage the full team that they understand it. So because you're dealing with a record label that might have 10 people on that team and an agency that has a couple of people and your publicist, and everyone has to get where you're going so that when the opportunity comes, it is clear that that is something you should say no to, yes to, or it's on the bubble. And you discuss those in depth, and can you bend it to your will? There's a couple of examples. Like Eric Church on the third album was the big album of the year, and it was all the stuff. And I had taken that album cover picture in the garage over here in East Nashville because I got a new lens, and he really liked the picture. But it's the picture that's really pushed up on his face, and he has sunglasses on, and the hat, the big iconic thing. It became his logo. That picture, he loved that picture. We turned that picture in. The label said you cannot use that as a cover immediately. Like, it's not hip hop. Country is the connection. You have sunglasses on. I mean, what is this?
Who was running the record company at the time?
Mike Dungan.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, Dungan is speaking. He's the last speaker.
Oh, he's going to be great. He's going to be way more interesting than me.
No,
he's awesome. And to his credit, he always gave us the role on these weird things. But immediately, people that had to work the project were like, "This is the loser of a cover for us." Yeah. But anyway, Mike let it happen. We did it. That's the guy that was out on the road. That's the guy we were marketing. That's who we were going to be. Fine. Then the record works, and we have things that open up, and they go, guess what, guys? We have offer from the Today Show. Millions and millions of P1 country listeners are listening to this. You guys finally made it. And I held up that album in the marketing meeting and pointed at the cover, go, this guy's not awake, you see. He can't do the morning show. Yeah. It's not our lane. We got all these guys. We don't really need the soccer moms. And it took showing them like this. He should, if he's awake, he has been up all night. But the idea that you're going to put that guy in front of the flower pots next to the weather guy is insane to me, because it's not the brand at all.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by a lens. You kind of go, okay, yes, this works for most of the country artists because that's a great audience that they need and they're talking to, and they have songs for that audience.
Mm-hmm.
We do not really. We're hitting over here. That's our point of differentiation. And as soon as we come here, this group who is buying the t-shirts and laying down the tracks going, that's my guy, is going to go, what is he doing over there?
Yeah.
And you've just eroded the very thing that you've built a little bit. You've added friction to it. And if you keep adding those frictions, you get nowhere. And that's kind of my problem generally with songs, and people that would cut a song that's a hit song that has nothing to do with the overall narrative.
And his North Star evolved, or has it been pretty?
Well, I mean,
in a way, it's very consistent.
I think in a way it's really consistent. But I think you like now, we're building all these houses in Western North Carolina, from Hurricane Helene. And rather than donate the money, we've done the hardest thing possible, just try to solve housing in America somehow. And so we're like going after, like we always do. But so now we just did, for the first time, some morning TV. We did not go we didn't play any music.
Yeah, you went as
a person who was doing good in the world. Like, it's the next layer for him is, how do you go to icon? How do you go to getting in the zeitgeist of the American culture? It's a different playbook and different position. And so the North Star moves a little bit, but it never loses its kind of core.
And I would imagine that he translates potentially better internationally because of that very fine kind of differentiation that is him. Comparative to his peers.
Yes. And I would think that I think it works almost anywhere too, but it's kind of like you would rather have people go, I hate that, or I love that, rather than that's good. Like, that feels like the worst position to me. Like, oh, I really like it.
It's lukewarm water.
I wish you would hate it or love it. Please do either one, because that's a way more, which again cuts kind of completely counter to a lot of the big drivers like radio that are looking for something that, radio is in the advertising business. They're not in the record business. You you don't pay the bills. The mattress guy and the car dealership are paying the bills, and they want this audience, and they want them to stay there. So their goal is to not offend between ad block to ad block. That's the best. That's their move. That's what they want to do. So you wonder why it all sounds the same. It's because that's their business model. And don't be shocked when you go, I make really cool different music and I can't get on the radio. It's like, no shit, man. You know. But I would still say stand where you are, and maybe it comes to you. I mean, the Black Keys took 6 records before they got on the radio. You know, just stand there. You got an audience. You're making a little bit of money. People know what it is. They will come. They will pay. And we'll be able to make a living. And then that big spotlight kind of came around to garage rock, and we were right there for 6 records, and we knew what we were doing when it happened. You know, so it's like that's also just kind of. But it is better, I feel like, to just stand in who you are the whole time.
Yeah,
Let
well,
it,
and
let it come to you.
I mean that is that notion of authenticity, because then you also have to live with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And if you're changing who you are and you lose that center, people can smell it.
Yeah.
Right? They can smell it.
Yeah. I think also one of the things that I try to do is when you're meeting with a new artist, is just try to define what success means to them. Because to me, you know, it's like, well, what about not having to wait tables? I mean, if you actually could do music, write songs and stuff, and that is your primary job, that sounds like a win to me. And because if you're really born to do it, you're put here to do this is your calling, then you're going to do it. You're going to be playing the coffee house or the arena, but you're probably going to be playing because it's inside you and you need to do it. So if you start there and go, I'm going to do this anyway, and you might as well go, well, then do it right. Don't chase. Just be who you are, develop it to the high, because you will get some fan base. And it's just, you know, then it will be up to the people to vote and where the trends are and how old you are and what you're participating in, and to luck and hopefully get good representation and all the things. But that's a lot of variables that you are out of your control, but that other one is not. That is in your control to be who you are and stand there and do it and own that thing. Surround yourself with good people, you know, educate yourself and try to grow it as big as you can, but don't change who you are to grow it. You know?
I want to back up because one of the things, and then I'm going to bring it forward. So back in the day, one of the things that you were known for, and I think one of the common early bonds between you and I was you were very tech forward, right? To the point, I mean, back to build. Were you using FileMaker, by the way?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Oh my God. So you were really very forward thinking and very sort of technically adept in a business that, I mean, literally fought technology tooth and nail in an attempt, right, to legislate and litigate its market share, which failed miserably, i.e. let's go sue our customers. What a great idea, right? But there was a point after that where I remember this conversation that you and I had at one point about the idea of, it wasn't that you abandoned technology, but it's that you kind of went back to the root of, how do I know if it's working? If we play again and there's twice the people, it's working, right? As opposed to the analytics of it, right? So take that and then juxtapose that to today, where really modern record companies are just looking at playlisting and looking at, it's all technology. It's all, so
there's got to be a balance of head and heart, I guess.
That's what
you're saying.
Yeah. So can you talk about that?
Like, I think the conversation we had was because you were developing some great stuff too. And when you could look at, you know, people just had their head kind of here in the screen and go, oh, this is your best-selling merch piece. This is your, you know, this is what is happening with your customer base. And I challenged somebody at one point and go, I'm going to go into the room. I'm going to get on stage. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to look at what people are wearing and go, we probably should make a trucker hat. We probably should do this. And I'll bet you I'm as accurate as your months of staring at the screen through just looking at the people. We have forgotten to just like, look up, they're right there. You know, what are they doing? How old are they? Are they mostly male? Are they mostly like, you know, everybody was just looking at the numbers and not instead of going and just like looking. And I think the same thing is happening right now, where you can kind of go, Even worse today. It's so bad today because it's driving so many decisions. And I don't even think, up until recently, I was banging on all the labels going, you guys don't even have common language yet. Your user generated thing, Warner, you're calling it something else. These streams that are passive or organic, you're calling something different. You haven't even agreed on the language to feed me the numbers in a meaningful way, to tell me what's editorial, tell me what's organic, tell me, so I can make some kind of philosophical adjustments to my artist or understand what is maybe resonating. It doesn't make any sense. Your data, you're just looking and everyone is seeing what they want to see in the numbers. And it still kind of drives me crazy. And then, I have to rebalance my digital team all the time of my expectation of them is to have the pedal all the way to the ground to bring the best practices and the best way to build numbers. And I'm going to tell you no a lot, because it's my job to temper that with, but is that building the right thing? Or all of a sudden is Brett Eldridge the guy with the cute dog? And then you're off there. Like, why is that helpful? I mean, you can pat yourself on the back and say, we grew our followers by 20% this month. It's like, okay, but is that resonating with the North Star? Is it growing our audience? Is it doing something that is on point? Or is it just numbers? And that's a big distinction, and people are being incentivized, they're being bonused, they're being by just growing. And growing is not, in my mind, it's not the same as being actionable. I had this argument with a sponsor before, and them going, well, we're looking at your social numbers and we don't really see it. And I go, I have the attendance record at Nissan Stadium. I brought people out of their house. They've got babysitters. They got parking. It is the crown jewel of everything you would ever want. And you're looking at my Facebook numbers or something stupid going, you're missing it. You're just missing it, man. Like you're not looking at the real world. You're staring at the screen, and that's the kind of thing that you just got to balance it. I don't think, doing it all with your heart will also miss some stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think a blend is really the best way to do it, but numbers for numbers' sake is a mistake. And I do think it's running wild today, because the fact is that no one really knows how to do it. I mean, if we just knew what a hit was, we would just all just do that. We just deliver hit after hit after hit. It's just like, it's still art. It's still subjective. It's still going to be all this human junk in there. And it's important to understand that so that you can play with kind of both sides.
So when you think about how you look at what's happening now with, I just even hate bringing it up, right? But you look at what's happening with artificial intelligence, and you look at how the record companies are behaving now, and they've wisened up. They're not litigating. They're getting into business, right?
Right.
So how does that play now when you think about and look at, and even the fact that we've now seen a couple of artificial bands connecting with the public, where does that fit for you? And does that dismay you? Does that make you worry for the future of human music, or does it make you excited because you don't play that game?
Yeah, I'm in that category.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me really, in the sense that I think, I guess I believe in the human connection, and I don't believe that you could really fully replace it. I think that we've gotten where, I mean, to me, even the Nashville songwriting machine, okay, it has big trends. I mean, and music has big trends. You can listen to stuff that was recorded in 2000, go, yeah, it sounds like the 2000s. I mean, we move in this way that's so derivative and copycatty, and you wonder why AI could just pick it up and write and put the hook in the right spot. It's like, it's a joke. It's kind of what the songwriters do in all the rooms around here. It's like, oh, we're going to do the full verse and the chorus, and we're going to do a half verse and the chorus. that's what we're going to do. And they all do it, you know what I mean? Over and over and over again. And you think a computer's not going to figure that out.
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, we've been doing it anyway.
Mhm.
And now something's just doing it kind of faster. And I don't fear for a true artist connecting with people through the live experience, through the recorded experience, and through the human experience of all of it, you know? And I think it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be harder, but it's okay, I think. And I like it for ideation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do a lot of set design. I do a lot of, you know, building out this new Brothers Osborne aesthetic right now. And it's just helpful to call on some of these tools to kind of knock it together. Because like I told you before, the reason I got into photography is like 1,000 words, you struggle with it sitting in your head. And how do you get it out to get everybody on the same page? You go, it feels like this. Like that's much easier for me to do now than it used to be.
And
And
what tools do you like that you're using now that you've adopted recently that you're using as a mechanism for creativity?
Well, there's a lot more access to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I've used ChatGPT and Grok and stuff to do. I mean, I designed Ashley's bar in that, and if you look at the renderings that I did and walk up to her bar, it's like it looks just like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It was really did a good job of like ideating what this kind of New Orleans Southern Gothic thing would look like. But so I use a variety of tools, but the access to the amount of content is really what's great to me.
Right.
So I can pull in massive amounts of kind of royalty-free stuff, but I still kind of do it in Premiere. I still kind of cut it in the old school video ways for the moment, and just because I just know the tool well and can just kind of chop it together to kind of show the story. But that's where all those hazmat guys came for all that stuff. It's like I just started throwing in recycling and garbage and medical stuff until it felt like the record, you know, and kind of spit it out in a long form and then refined it into the campaign.
So I want to turn it to inside this building for a minute, right? We talk a lot about the artists. So talk about the people that you're bringing in here to help you realize the vision. What are the intrinsic qualities you're looking for? How does the team break out? How many are here? What are their roles? And how do you attract the talent to help you sort of realize the visions?
Yeah, this is a great question, because it turns out I am not a great leader of people. I feel I'm such a self-starter that it is beyond my understanding when people are not like that. So that it has been bumpy for me at times for going, you know, I'm not going to be standing over you and telling you what to do. I want great people who are independent thinkers that are better than me in a lane. And I want them to go, you know? So it's taken a while to get the team the way I feel like I want it. But I feel like it's there now.
How long did it take you to get there? How long is it taking you to build it?
I feel like it's a lifetime. You know what I mean? There's been some people here who have been here, 18 years, the longest, I think. But a lot of people have been here for a while. And
which I would challenge you and assert that if you have long-standing people around you, you are a good leader.
Oh, well,
I mean, because you can't keep people if you don't lead them well, right?
Well, I try, but it's not conventional, I guess I would say, and they need the quality of wanting to own their lane.
So what are the big lanes?
So that has set up, kind of the structure, which is where I do a lot of the creative part and the signing and development of the record and the North Star and usually the marketing campaign. Then there are managers who kind of are the clearinghouse. There's two of them at the moment that are the clearinghouse for everything that would come in for a given act. And
would they be considered day-to-days?
I think that would be, I call them managers because of something I guess I'll say in a minute. But yes, like the day-to-day managers. Yeah. I'm still going to get all the major calls and the major problems and all that as being the primary manager for the whole roster. But then there's a series of specialists, I call them. So the rest of the company is made out of specialists, whether that be radio, fan engagement, touring, radio, all that stuff. So they come together in teams around that thing, and they are wholly responsible for their lane and building the campaign and executing the campaign. So I have to deliver that North Star, that music, that thing that everyone can understand, and then they go to work on bringing their individual plans where the managers and I will fold them together to make a holistic plan. And what I'm most
Can I interrupt? You're
Yes.
building all of that here, and
We're
then
building all of it.
you distribute that to the other partners. So you've got
yeah
the agent and the record company and how do you keep them all in line?
Well, I used to really be a jerk about this, and I would build the whole thing, and videos were done and all this kind of stuff, and it really was quite offensive to, I feel like, the label at times, because we took it so far. So I've learned that the best way to do this is build the skeleton and then allow them to hang some stuff on the skeleton. So it's going to be a kangaroo. You know, and it might be a kangaroo with a pig patch or something because somebody put something on there I didn't know, but it's still kangaroo. Yeah, it's still going to be a kangaroo.
Yeah.
So it allows a little more involvement from the outside partners to bolt on what they know. They're doing a lot more acts than us typically, which causes a lot of times really generic thinking. But at the same time, they have a wide view that can be valuable and can teach us something. So I've learned to we build the skeleton here, we push the skeleton out for collaboration. And the good people bolt onto it, and if they can't really contribute to it, we really don't spend a lot of time with them, so but that seems to be the best way to do it. And the other thing I would say is that I feel like for a management company, I think we're one of the only ones where managers will be in the other person's meeting. It's a very collaborative in the sense of, I want the team that's working with Universal to be in the meeting when we're talking about how we're setting up a record with Warner Brothers, because they can learn things from each other.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, a few years ago, I did something that people thought was insane, which I took the manager. I said, switch acts. I need a new look at it, which caused the artist to go, oh my God, we don't, oh my God. And the managers go, no way. And anyway, I made them do it, and it was better. I think, but I don't think you could do that at another place. You got to have a culture that's tight and believe in each other and have respect for each other in a culture that is collaborative, or that you could never do stuff like that. So I think we're unique in that way.
How many people inside the shop now?
So I think I have 12, and then there's just a variety of interns, and so we probably in the building with some of the whiskey people come in and out. This place has probably got about 20 people in it most of the time. A little bit flexibility there depending on the intern base and that. Cool.
Okay, so I want to pause because I've been hogging the ball, which is fine for now. But just so for John's benefit, who wants to be an artist? Who wants to do this? Who wants to be? There's 1.5.
I'll take that.
Two and a half.
Yeah.
3, 4.
3.5 to 4.
3.5 to 4.
And then
Sounds like a band.
and then what other disciplines in the room? Engineers? Yep. You can put your hands up for multiple things. Producer, because what I heard you say earlier is you tried a lot of stuff on, right?
Yeah.
Like
Big time.
right. And to me, that the notion of I'm going to try it, and if I fail, what do I have to lose by failing? Right. So I'm part of what I'm trying to encourage them to do is to fail and to do it quickly. Like get in there, figure it out. And if it's fucked, then move on. Right.
Yeah.
You got nothing to lose and everything to gain by figuring it out.
Right.
So, when you're looking for someone, whether that's the artist or someone who's going to contribute on a team, what are those things that ring your bell, that where you walk away going, oh, that.
I mean, you've got to care. You've got to give a shit, man. I mean, if you come in here and just like, well, this was the job and this is what they told me to do, and that's done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you just know if people are into it, they're into it, and it shows. You want to be around, you want to be here. What else can you do? What are you doing? Asking questions,
Yeah.
and they stand out, and some people come in and they want to just check it out. They don't know what management is, and they may not be a super outgoing person, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
But if it does start to stick on you, I mean, I would just encourage you to like just care. You know what I mean? Check in before you leave. This is what I got done. This is where I left this. Just kind of what I feel like is common sense, but you'd be surprised on how much it really isn't.
You still take out the trash?
I definitely take out the trash. I did it tonight before you guys came.
See, to me, that's great leadership.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
absolutely. You probably do.
Yesterday,
Yeah, okay. But yeah, there was some boxes in a couple of offices, and they need to be broken down and get out of here because I need you guys to be looking around.
Yeah. When I worked in Alaska in college, and I worked for a guy who told me, that gave me one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten in leadership, which is there's nothing here that I'm going to ask you to do that I have not done myself and will not do again.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would definitely be in that category.
Yeah.
It's like I don't mind that at all.
Well, I mean, it's got to get done.
It's got to get done.
It's got to get done. And so someone's got to do it. And that someone sometimes is you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you'd also be surprised. Sometimes you learn stuff, you know what I mean, by doing something. I mean, I can't tell you on how, I mean, my middle daughter, I remember someone asked her, is like, talking about what your dad did for a living. I don't know. He lays on the couch. I'm like, really? That's what you think I did? But at the same time, I know what she was referring to because she came in one time and I told my assistant at that point, I said, there's this Star Trek episode. It's about this. It's all done on a train. It goes back to like this Mark Twain era. I need to find the episode. It's found, and I was just sitting there watching it, and it became the creeping video for Eric. I mean, it's just like, this is what I want to do with this video, because we have this chief character,
Yep.
And by the time we got to creeping, I was like, I want to take the same character and sunglasses, but I want it to go back to the 1800s. I want to go backwards in time with it and do this time travel thing. And I'm like, I know there's an episode like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you just don't know where stuff comes from. And every now and then, like understanding gear, doing that stuff. You just don't know where that might be a connection point with an artist. You know what I mean? Who how to roll a chord. You don't know how far that got me.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to help out and going, oh, you know how to do the over-under thing? So you just throw it out. It doesn't tank. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And it's like, but that you just don't know what those things are. So almost anything you do can connect in some way later.
Mm-hmm.
So never be afraid of it.
And you're also stacking on top, right? So you're as you're learning, you're adding to the arsenal, and so you can go back to earlier, right? And as you stack, you're developing new ways to apply individual pieces of the puzzle,
right?
Which is really, in a lot of ways, my observation has led you to all of these skills that all interlock with each other over a longer period of time.
Right.
How old are you?
58.
So I'm 50. We're the same age. I mean, it's weird.
It does feel weird.
It's fucking weird. So I want to land the plane on our time, right? And I want to do that by kind of asking you, when you think about, if you could offer your younger self a piece of advice that you wished you had, right? That you now know because you've got it in your, it's much easier in the rearview mirror. What would that thing be that you wished you had? Someone had tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Hey, you know what?" That would have given you an advantage that maybe it took you longer to figure out.
I think it would be to be a bit more collaborative in the beginning.
Mm.
To have the confidence to be able to know that to understand the gifts that you have,
Mhm.
and be able to know that along with your gifts, you have deficits, and you don't need to pretend that you are good at that. I just think that I would have surrounded myself quicker with the people that I have now
Mhm.
by allowing that. And I think that's this next season for me is all about that. I look up and go, oh, the kid in the basement. And I realize that kid in the basement's been here 9 years. Do you know what I mean? They deserve to be contributing to the company, having vision about what a great artist might be, in those things, as I kind of narrow my focus into what I think are my true gifts,
Mhm.
allowing them to come up, contribute more, and find their own gifts and celebrate those things.
Mhm.
And I think for a while, I had to prove to myself that I knew all of it, and could make the video and take the pictures and
Mhm.
do the record and all the things, because it felt like the creative part wanted to accomplish those things, which was more, I think, self-centered and self-serving than it probably needed to be. And a lot of those things worked out, and they were gratifying in some ways. But at the same time, I think that could have been something that was celebrated in a broader way, when it brought me to the point that I feel like we are now earlier. And I like where we are. I would have liked to have been there.
You seem like you seem very comfortable in a way that you were a lot angstier in your,
Definitely.
right. And I think at the same time, what I would say that a lot of how you've come to this place, you had to come to it the way you did, right? When you think about,
Yeah, it's hard to go, oh,
Yeah.
All that said, would you change it? It's like, I can't say that I would. You don't know.
I think they call it wisdom, but
Yeah,
that's what happens when you get old. They start calling you wise.
Yeah,
and then,
that's it.
yeah.